listeners, to the big 90th edition of WrestleRant here today with your host, of course, Bleacher, Bleacher Combos Level 3, Graham GSM Matthews here tonight to review the November 5th edition of Monday Night Raw. Of course, it's Election Day while you're watching this, so happy Election Day to you. Of course, it's my least favorite day of the year, almost my favorite day of the year, most likely because the Linda McMahon ads here since I live in Connecticut are finally going to cease after today, so I'm extremely happy about that. But nonetheless, moving on to Monday Night Raw. Hailing from jolly old England, my favorite location for WWE events. They always have electric shows there. Sadly, tonight was quite the exception with a lack of excitement during the course of the card, but nonetheless, they had a lot of decent build to Survivor Series pay-per-view in just a few short weeks. It's about, I believe, 2 weeks from this past Sunday, or 2 weeks from yesterday, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks from this past Sunday, yes, correct. But yeah, thankfully, the action wasn't all that bad. Overall, it was a boring to somewhat show, but I'll get to my overall thoughts on the show by the end of this video. So to kick off the show, we had a brief video involving The Miz and Paul Heyman, and The Miz was saying how he was quitting Team Punk come Survivor Series. Why exactly? I'm not exactly sure why. I didn't hear everything that he said in the promo, but I guess he wasn't being respected. I don't know. He's been losing a lot to Kofi Kingston, so maybe that plays a role in it. But even still, The Miz is off Team Punk. Not exactly sure why they did this. I thought Miz was getting a nice push after defeating Kofi Kingston this past Friday night on SmackDown. Granted, he was, buried, quote unquote, after he was bro kicked by Sheamus shortly there afterwards. But even still, I thought it would be a nice rub to put him in the Survivor Series tag team match. That's where he belongs, so I'm not exactly sure why they took him out. Maybe they'll re-add him at some point, but as of right now, I'm not exactly sure what they're doing with The Miz. They usually always do this with these kind of tag team matches. They substitute people to make it more exciting to see who's going to replace them. Why it had to be The Miz, I'm not exactly sure why, but I guess only time will tell. But moving forward, we had our first match of the night, our first tag team match. R-Truth teaming with Sin Cara and Rey Mysterio in a successful effort against the WWE United States Champion Antonio Cesaro and the tag team of the Primetime Players. This is a fun tag team match to kick off the show. Enjoy the action. All 6 guys had great chemistry and smart booking by having R-Truth go with United States Champion Antonio Cesaro to conclude the contest, I should say. This gives R-Truth his well-deserved shot against the United States Champion Antonio Cesaro come the Survivor Series pay-per-view, probably on the pre-show, I would presume, or in a 6-man tag, or in a 5-on-5 tag team match, elimination style that we've seen at Survivor Series in previous years at Survivor Series. So hopefully we get that match come in a few weeks. It comes Survivor Series. I'm not exactly sure whether we're going to get the tag team match or the singles match between the two, but nonetheless, it puts R-Truth back in the United States Championship picture. So up next, we had a segment involving John Cena and Vicky Guerrero, much of the same from last week, kind of talking about the scandal and, the whole AJ thing and showing more footage. This footage was a little more compelling, but even still, it was pretty obvious that they weren't in the same room together. They were 2 completely different cameras. John Cena made that very well clear. There wasn't any really doubt in the fans' mind, in my mind, that Johnson was lying, that there's any scandal going on, for sure. But even still, I was intrigued. The only saving grace of this promo was, of course, the fan reaction, the brilliant crowd reaction from the English crowd. I love the crowd there. I almost always do. They have the English crowd there every April, in November, they travel overseas to the United Kingdom. So they played a great factor in saving this show from complete disaster. And this is one of those segments that they saved from complete disaster. Their reactions when John Cena was opening up the door in the video, and when AJ was making her way down the hallway, that was great stuff, and I really enjoyed that. That really helped enhance the overall segment and to make it more enjoyable, or at least in my eyes. So up next, we had our second match of the night with Daniel Bryan and Cody Rhodes. Brief match. It was fun for what it was. They have good chemistry in the ring. Would have liked to see it going longer, but Cody Rhodes goes over here via the crossroads. The only disappointing part about this match is the fact that Cody Rhodes didn't even get an entrance. On a 3-hour show, I have no idea why people's entrances need to be cut. But even still, we have that match, and then Cody Rhodes goes over, starts bragging after the match that Damian Sandow can take on Kane, in which he does in the next matchup. That was a decent matchup as well. Cody Rhodes and Daniel Bryan get booted from ringside. And on the subject of Daniel Bryan, this crowd was damn red hot. Daniel Bryan during the course of this match. If you can recall, 6 months ago, was it 6 months ago? 7 months ago, back in April, when they traveled to England. That was when Daniel Bryan's yes chants were really starting to get over. The yes chants could be heard throughout the John Cena video footage earlier in the night, and then during Daniel Bryan's entrance as well. They were red hot for Daniel Bryan. They absolutely love Daniel Bryan, so that was fun as well. And so this is a good tag team, or a good tag team feud that they got going on here between Team Hell No and the Rhodes Scholars. One representative, one team picks up a victory, the other representative picks up another victory. So that was good booking right there. Up next, we had a promo from Brad Maddox talking about his actions at Hell in a Cell. An absolutely terrible promo. I like to stay positive on most aspects of pro wrestling, a lot of the segments, but there was just really nothing good here to praise at all. I mean, this guy's promo skills sucked. I mean, I don't even like the story. They could have just very well just moved on. I know I was complaining last week that, of course, they didn't really follow through with what they did at Hell in a Cell, and they did this week. And I just don't really like what they're doing here. I don't know why they would feel the need to make Brad Maddox an actual character on WWE television. They could have very well just had Ryback destroy him, in which he probably will next week. But if Brad Maddox is to defeat Ryback next week, I'm going to be extremely pissed. They do not need this guy in the roster at all. I don't know what his in-ring skills are. I'm not going to bash him even before he gets in the ring, but I'm just not intrigued by the story at all. They have absolutely no need for him if he's not going to be in line with CM Punk and Paul Heyman. So then after that, Vince McMahon comes out along with Vicky Guerrero talking about how making CM Punk versus John Cena versus Ryback in a triple threat match for the WWE Championship at Survivor Series. I don't understand this. I mean, this would have been a great match at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I understand that John Cena is not 100% medically cleared, so I understand why they had to take that off the card. But if they were going to make this match a Survivor Series pay-per-view, why not start to build it last week? CM Punk has already started to, get in that verbal war with Mick Foley. That was what was getting me excited about the big tag team match coming to Survivor Series pay-per-view. So I don't really know why they felt the need to mix up the entire card, change everything around at the very last minute to accompany, just to accommodate this triple threat WWE title match. Don't get me wrong, it's probably going to be a great match, and I understand that. I would have liked to see it at TLC, but I just don't understand WWE's booking. That was a common trend throughout the show. There was just a lot of things that I did not see fit for WWE's booking during the course of the show. At least for Survivor Series, all these matches are going to be great, but I don't really see the need to change the entire card around for no apparent reason. But anyways, we move on to Sheamus versus The Miz, another good match. The crowd was kind of flat for it. Don't really blame them after watching that previous promo that kind of confused everybody. But even still, Sheamus picks up the victory here. Tag team action up next with the Divas, with Layla and Kaitlyn defeating the tandem of Eve and Oksana. Why Oksana got an entrance and not Layla didn't get her full entrance, I'm not exactly sure why. But even still, Layla is from England, so I was happy to see her make an appearance on the show. And making appearances on the show while on that subject, William Regal, my William Regal, of course, the man that got me into wrestling 4.5 years ago, made an appearance on the show during a backstage segment with Sheamus. I thought that was awesome for what it was worth. Of course, they never have William Regal on Monday Night Raw, so they needed to get him on Raw in England. They don't usually do that. I don't think they did that last time or the time before they were in England, but even still, or at least on Raw, rather. But even still, I love the Regal appearance here. Just showing some English love for William Regal, which is, I really enjoyed that. So I appreciate WWE trying to squeeze him onto the show. Very glad to see that. So up next, after the Divas Tag Team match where Layla and Kaitlyn picked up the victory, which is decent, I should say that. At least it furthers the storyline between all four divas, and Layla and Kaitlyn go over here. Really nothing much more to say about that. So up next, after that, we had Kofi Kingston defeating Del Rio, which was a nice match. Really enjoyed that, and really smart booking with Kofi Kingston going over Del Rio, I believe for the first time ever. These guys have had a hell of a lot of matches over the course of the past year and a half, and I think Del Rio has gone over every single time. So there was a nice change of pace to have Kofi Kingston go over here, especially as IC champion, so it doesn't make him look weak. It furthers the feud between the two guys since they are both involved in the Survivor Series Tag Team Elimination match come Survivor Series in a few weeks, as well as Randy Orton costing Del Rio the victory, which also helps provide hype for their big Falls Count Anywhere match on Super SmackDown on Tuesday night. So that was all around great booking involving Kofi Kingston, Randy Orton, and Alberto Del Rio. So up next, we had a tag team match with Santino and Ryder defeating the likes of Primo and Epico. And let me start off by saying the new music by Primo and Epico absolutely is horrendous. Did not enjoy that at all. I like the more generic music that they had before this. They had for about a year before changing it on this episode of Raw. That was just a side note, in my personal opinion. But nonetheless, the match was what it was. Pretty fine action. Nothing bad, nothing good, just kind of there. I like the fact that they're, as I've said time and time again over the last few months, that they're finally getting focused into the tag team division. That's a nice change of pace. But other than that, this match was kind of something you see on Superstars, really nothing all that meaningful. Up next, Wade Barrett getting a huge hometown pop in what was probably one of the biggest pops of the night, defeating Brodus Clay in what was a first-time ever matchup. This is a nice matchup here. Wade Barrett gets a big victory. after defeating the big Brodus Clay, so I like to see that. Brodus Clay gets an appearance on the show. He got a nice pop. He was actually booed during the course of the matchup because he was getting some offense on Barrett, which I thought was hilarious. Wade Barrett looks very, very good here. I mean, he's been looking great since he came back a few months ago on SmackDown with his new look and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to what they have in store for him going forward. So I thought his hometown pop was probably one of the best highlights of this episode of Monday Night Raw. Obviously, he's not going to get the pop going forward, but even still, I thought it was a very nice reaction, as a very hometown reaction. And as Barrett pointed out himself, he does not lose in England, so I was glad to see him make an appearance on the show, and even more so pick up a victory over the like of Brodus Clay. So up next, we had Heath Slater defeat Jey Uso. Really nothing much to say here at all. This match lasted a few minutes, but the crowd didn't give two shits about this, and I don't blame them at all. This match could have been something that you'd see on Superstars, NXT, or even more so a dark match, because it didn't really do anything to hype up the crowd at all. Usos, I mean, they're never on television, so I was glad to see them make an appearance on Raw. But Heath Slater, I don't really care about in this 3MB thing. I understand that Drew McIntyre wasn't on the show because his mother was very ill. My thoughts and prayers go out to her, but I was very disappointed not to see him on the show for that alone, given the fact that he was from the United Kingdom and they were in England tonight. But even still, it was just bad timing, so my thoughts and prayers and condolences go out to Drew McIntyre and his ill mother. So up next, we had, I'm sorry, let me look at my thing here. We had the main event, of course. We had the tag team main event with John Cena and Ryback defeating the WWE Champion CM Punk and Dolph Ziggler. And what was a great main event, a lot of good action. John Cena and Ryback engaging in an intense stare down to close the show. So I thought that was very, very intense and very, very suspenseful, going to their big triple threat match at Survivor Series. That was a great way to close the show for an otherwise what was a disappointing show, as I said before. Nothing on the show was very extremely bad. There was just some parts of the show that I didn't really enjoy all that much. And I'm not really saying that it was bad at all, but there were just some parts of the show that were unneeded, is what I should say. Some parts I did enjoy, like the numerous appearances from Wade Barrett, William Regal, Layla, the hometown heroes in England. And as I said, I love Raw in England. I love WWE in England as a whole. But even still, they dropped the ball on the show by providing a lot of boring segments that didn't get the England crowd hyped up at all. But with that being said, they did make the most of it with their numerous chances throughout the night. I did appreciate and enjoy that. But even still, the whole card, the whole build-up for Survivor Series in a few weeks is completely fucked up at this point. I have no idea where they're going with any of this shit. I don't know why they're not going forth with John Cena versus Ziggler. I have no idea what happened to Mick Foley. I have no idea why they're not pursuing Mick Foley versus CM Punk at the Survivor Series pay-per-view. I have no idea what's happening to Miz. I have no idea what's going on with the big tag team match. So hopefully we get more answers than questions on next week's episode of Monday Night Raw, because that's what I'd love to see. I mean, this isn't really the kind of suspense, the unpredictable suspense that I want to see. This is just a lot of bullshit booking that they're changing in the last minute, which I have no idea why they're doing it. Maybe I'll find out more over the course of the next few days, but even still, it could have been worse, but I did enjoy some aspects of the show. And as I said, the England crowd really helped save the show to make it a good show, rather than a bad show or a very, very good show. But even still, going forward, hopefully they do fix what they've done wrong with the Survivor Series booking, and hopefully we can get some good booking going into next week's Go Home show. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure to hit me up on Twitter at SAVE US GSM with your thoughts on the show as well. Make sure to subscribe, hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate all the views and stuff that you guys give me. And make sure to enjoy your week. And this is GSM signing out. Till next time, guys.